Hey, welcome back to the 167 and our 7-minute stories where somebody from New Life Community Church tells you what God's doing in their life and tells their 7-minute story. So today we have on with us Meghan Banka.
Hello.
We're so glad that you're here and going to tell us your 7-minute story. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You got your notes?
I got my notes.
All right. Are you ready? Here we go. We're going to put 7 minutes on the clock and go.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about anxiety because that's been a big part of my life. I've struggled with it a lot, but also God has showed me himself with it a lot. It's been my biggest healing journey, actually. I've had minor anxiety since I was little. You're going to have to cut out a lot of ums. I've had minor anxiety since I was little, but as I got older into my teenage years, it got worse. I started experiencing panic attacks a lot when I was in high school. Past relationships and friendships mostly were the reasons why they kind of made me insecure, and I would kind of freak out about little things that no one really should freak out about. It took a major toll on my mental health. I also had eating disorders in high school, so obviously I was a little bit focused on my body image, and that can cause a lot of issues.
Coupled with that anxiety.
Yeah, so my anxiety, it's a control thing. So I could control how many calories I ate. And so if something was going wrong, I would eat less because I had control over that, which sounds odd now, but it made sense back in the day. When I was about 17 or 18, I got prescribed Lexapro, which is an antidepressant, but it can also help with anxiety. And it sounded good at the time, but as I started taking it and my body started getting used to it, I realized it kind of just numbed my anxiety. It never went away. It just I stopped caring about things and I had no emotion. I just was waking up and then living and then going to sleep, pretty much. I don't know how else to explain that.
Was there something that changed that for you?
Changed what?
All of this, that you kind of see on this trajectory of, that you're more and more anxiety, you're numbed out. What do you think was there? Obviously, you're not that way now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think was probably the catalyst for that?
I would say, so it's kind of weird. I gradually grew in my faith, and so I almost felt guilty for taking Lexapro because I felt like it was an easy way out of giving it all to God. And so I kind of subconsciously knew that. And I also just I didn't want to feel nothing. I thought that it would be better than feeling all this anxiety, but it wasn't. It was actually worse because you kind of turn into a vegetable in the brain, in my opinion. That's how I felt. So, but anyways, my anxiety started getting worse months later. I started having very strong panic attacks to the point where I couldn't get out of bed. I would have to call into work. I would have to be called out of school because if I felt like if I moved, I was gonna die, pretty much. And I don't know how else to explain that, but it was not good. It was horrible. And looking back, I can't even remember how it felt. I just remember feeling I was gonna die if I moved or anything. But I just knew that's not how God wants me to live my life. And so I was always stuck because anxiety, it can control you. And I'm yeah, I have all this faith in God, but then an anxiety attack would show up and I would completely just forget how to even look to God for that. And it was almost I don't know, I know I shouldn't have felt guilty, but it made me feel guilty because I knew God had it, but I thought that I could handle it better. And I knew I couldn't subconsciously, but taking medicine for it just was my way out. So I would have to take an emergency medicine to make myself not feel like I'm dying, and I hated it, but it was the only thing that was quick and I didn't have to deal with it. So that was a tough phase. Around last October was when it got the worst. It was gone for about a year before then. And then all of a sudden around my birthday, it was actually my birthday week. I started waking up and instantly having a panic attack every single day. It was to the point where I would wake up terrified. Like I woke up and I was like, great, like here I am again today. I'm going to have another panic attack. And it was just like, looking back now, it's like, I cannot believe that I even dealt with that. You know, it's just like, it makes me sad that that's how I just lived life. And it was awful. Let's see. It was to the point where I couldn't even go out to eat with friends because it started to affect, like I couldn't eat at all. If I ate, I would instantly get nauseous and anxious. And I don't think that had anything to do with past eating disorders. It was just the way my body dealt with the fight or flight of anxiety. Mm-hmm. And it was just crazy. Like I used to, I love going out to eat with friends and my family. And every single time I'd go, I would just instantly get nervous. Even when I heard someone make dinner plans, I would be like, okay, you can do this. We can go to dinner. It's going to be good. It's going to be fun. And then I would instantly we would sit down at the restaurant and I would just start freaking out. I don't know why. It's just like, if I have a panic attack in a certain setting, then I almost can't redo that, if that makes sense. Like I can't go back to that place because I feel like it's going to trigger me. Or that's how I used to think. I don't think like that anymore, but that's how that was at the time.
So you said that's how you used to think. So what's the difference for you now? What happened?
Well, so I started going to life group with Michael, and we started learning about speaking in tongues and how we can help heal each other. And we just had 2 nights where we focused on each other, and I went first. And I was nervous, but I knew that this would be worth it. And so I told him, I told him my issue, and I was so tired of dealing with my anxiety, and I was willing to sit there. And at the time, I thought it would be kind of humiliating to just sulk in front of everyone and like basically just, I don't know, anxiety. I always want to act tough, but it was hard. So being vulnerable and healing was, it was difficult at first. But anyways, we prayed, and I just felt like during that prayer, I felt my chest loosen up, which it hasn't felt like that since before October. And even though my anxiety wasn't as bad as it was last year, I still felt like a bunch of just like weight was ripped off of me. And it was interesting because I believe in like God's miracles and his power, but I was like, there's no way he just can't do it for me. He can do it for other people, but he can't do it for me. And that's a horrible way to think because he can do it for me. And he did. And here I am. And now I can speak in tongues, and that's my weapon against my anxiety is if I feel anything rising, I just start speaking in tongues and just give myself a moment, and it's gone. And it's just like, I don't have to take medicine. I don't have to rely on myself. I just pray with my spirit and it's gone. So yeah, just getting prayed over and being vulnerable in that moment was worth it. It changed my life. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for sharing that. And like I said, thanks for being vulnerable that way, because I think that's going to empower a lot of people who feel the same way. They feel anxious, and it's like I said, they're nervous to have somebody pray for them, mm-hmm. and nervous to have somebody teach them how to combat that. Mm-hmm. So thanks for sharing that.
Well, yeah, thanks for letting me share it.